Thanks for downloading this podcast from Radio Kerry. For more, go to radiokerry.ie/podcasts or search iTunes using the keyword Radio Kerry.
We've been covering a lot of stories on Radio Kerry and on the Kerry Today show over the last 6 or 7 months about that HSC's plans to move people from people with special needs from congregated residential care settings such as St Mary's of the Angels in Beaufort into the community. And you've heard a lot about the residents and their families and the people that love them, that they're opposed to this, that they feel it's a one-size-fits-all move. And while moving some people into the community settings is appropriate, for other people, places like St Mary of the Angels is a home and they should not be moved from there. Well, one minister with the responsibility for this area, Finian McGrath, was down in Kerry back in April now, I think. He said he acknowledged the fears of parents who are concerned about the future of St Mary of the Angels in Beaufort and reports of moves to close the centre. And he gave a guarantee at the time that no resident of the facility in Beaufort would be moved without their consent and the consent of their families. Well, we're going to the comment line now. We're going up to Asdee, and Sarah Keane joins us on the line. Good morning to you, Sarah.
Good morning, Tressa.
Sarah, tell us why you got in touch.
Basically, I was on my way to pick up my sister on Friday from St Mary's because she comes home to Ballybunion to her mother every weekend. And I was listening to the coverage and the story, the appalling story that was being relayed from the front of the Times on Friday morning about that terrible situation, that elderly couple in Dublin who everybody's heard of, I'm sure, since, because I'm sure everybody was talking about it, who have their adult special needs child living with them and the whole situation. And I just wanted to ring in because I was just so frustrated and I just felt so upset for that family and for the thousands of families like them, that I just think it's completely wrong what the government are doing. And I just wanted to make the point. And I suppose in the next slot that came on Radio Kerry then was about the Jobestown situation, and whereby everyone is entitled to protest, and I do agree with what they were doing and everything else. It's just that I felt that the government can suddenly find millions and loads of money to go on with these tribunals and to go on with these kind of situations, whereas when you're on the ground and you're fighting for services for the disabled and for other kinds of, people in need, you're told, it'll be a couple of years before we'll have any funding for that. And it's just terrible, and it has to stop, and someone has to make a change, and that's what we're hoping to do, and we're going to keep at it until we make some kind of a change on the situation.
Now, Sarah, I suppose I should say first of all that the decision to prosecute defendants in that Jobestown case was made by the Director of Public Prosecution, and it would not have been made by the government. It would be entirely separate. The DPP would have made that decision to prosecute. But you are making a point, and it was, I suppose, put into the spotlight by that story of that Dublin couple in their 80s, an 82-year-old lady, and I think her husband maybe is 79. Yeah. The lady is the main carer of their 52-year-old daughter who has special needs, profound special needs, and now the mother has been diagnosed with dementia. Mm-hmm. But it was reported in the Irish Times on Friday that she would still have to remain the main carer for her daughter, despite her being diagnosed with dementia. Now, you were telling us there about your sister Joanne. Joanne lives in St Mary's of the Angels, and she goes back home to Ballybunion at the weekends and enjoys her time in Ballybunion, and then equally looks forward to going back to St Mary of the Angels in Beaufort on Monday and staying there for the week. And what you're hoping to do, if I'm right in saying this, is that you believe that St Mary's of the Angels has been a wonderful facility, a wonderful resource, has become a home for your sister Joanne. And you and other families and other friends of people who live in St Mary of the Angels believe that for youngsters, for babies, for children who are growing up now and who have profound special needs, they also should have that opportunity, if it's appropriate for them, to be able to live in a facility like St Mary of the Angels. Is that correct?
That is, Tressa, and that's exactly where our goal will be. We started this group that called the St Mary of the Angels Parents and Friends Association back in September, And from it, we have been able to secure the 77 residents their place until their end of life, whenever that may be, at St. Mary of the Angels, because it was going to be closed by the government and they were going to move them under this decongregation out to the community, which was totally unacceptable, as you can imagine. The problem we find that with this decongregation is that it's a one-size-fits-all by the government. And, you know, unless you're dealing with, you know, special needs and severely profound disability, it's in a different league to other kinds of disability. And to put it all in the one umbrella is completely wrong. And the main objective for us is to keep St. Mary of the Angels open as it is and what it was always meant to be, a home from home for the severely profound handicapped residents. And what we want is for it to be open to new residents, because every day, unfortunately, people are finding themselves in these situations where they're having, you know, children born into the family with this kind of disability, and it's crippling to keep that person at home and expect the mother and father to run the home for the other siblings who may be in the family, and to have this kind of a situation. I mean, a one-night respite here and a one-night respite there is no good to these people. These people need weeks at a time so that they can lead a normal life and that they can give their children who are in the family also some form of normality as well.
And have you yourself dealt personally with calls from parents?
Oh, Tracy, you wouldn't believe the amount of people just even in the Kerry. I mean, we're only dealing with Kerry. Obviously, we're fighting our own fight, but I know it's happening all over the countryside. But, I mean, since we started our group, the amount of families that have come to us and made themselves known to us, and the situations they're in are just deplorable. And the government's answer is, well, we'll send a nurse in and we'll show you how to tube feed your child or how to peg feed your child, and, you know, so that you can keep them at home. But it's not that these parents don't love their children. Of course they do. But they need a break. You can't be on call 24 hours a day and be a nurse 24 hours a day and also be a mother to other siblings in the family. And
what are your chances of success? Because Minister Finian McGrath, he has reiterated his commitment to move people from congregated settings like St. Mary of the Angels into the community. This seems to be the preferred policy. And
of course it is, and we are under no illusion that we have a very strong fight on our hands, but we are going to go to the wall with this, because severely profound handicapped children are in a completely different league to any other form of disability. And for the Minister and the government to put that kind of disability under the same umbrella as somebody who's got dyslexia or, you know, is mildly handicapped, it's wrong. There has to be a segregation of them. And St. Mary of the Angels is a purpose-built home-from-home unit, which it has always been. It will be 50 years in operation next summer. And the nuns, the Franciscan nuns, when they started this, their ethos was this was to be home from home. That's what it has been for the last 50 years. And that's what we are going to maintain.
Okay. Well,
and the most important thing is that we need to get the government to start opening up St. Mary's and other places like it to take in new residents and give them a chance of some bit of life.
Thanks for listening to this podcast from Radio Kerry. For more, go to radiokerry.ie/podcasts or search iTunes using the keyword Radio Kerry.